And I know it's hard because as creatives, we're not really thinking about the business. And that ends today. No. Hi, I'm Taylor-Alexis, and this is a safe place to talk dangerously about life lessons in your 30s, wellness, and filmmaking. So if you're new, welcome, and if not, thanks for coming on back. So today we are going to get into, finally, some filmmaking stuff. I know there's so many topics to talk about, and especially in the documentary world, I just want to see more of what I want to talk about. And I don't really see it out there. Maybe my algorithm is on a different rhythm. Who knows? But that's why I'm here. So today we are going to talk about the first stage, pre-production. This is the before. This is that crucial time where you are honing in on the planning, because what you do in the beginning will affect how things will end. And this is the stage where you can save. You should be thinking about funding and allocating money towards post-production in this stage. So before we even get into picking up a camera or thinking about budgets or scheduling and logistics, we need to talk about the story. We need to develop it. What's the narrative, right? What are you trying to say in the story? Are you the right person to tell the story? And I wouldn't even want you to get so deep into that, because I know we're living in some really sensitive times where, people I feel like the woke culture has really done a number. But is it time for this? Relevancy matters. I think in the early days of the pandemic, there were so many documentaries that came up because we were at home and people needed content and things like that. And I remember seeing a bunch of celebrity documentaries, and I'm just like you just got here. Your story's still being built. This is just my personal thing. I really don't want to see the story of someone that's 5 years into the entertainment world. I don't. I want to see the person that's done 20, 30 years of work and see how they've evolved. I'm not saying that their story isn't important. This is just my preference. So I'm going back to, is it time for this, right? Then you can also think about the access that you have. So some of the best stories come from just having access to people. I always think back to the first documentary, and one of the participants in my film was someone that I was actually in school with. So it was the access is right there. You know what I mean? With researching and developing the story and the narrative, there really is an emphasis on research. Look at previous documentaries that are related to your document or are similar on the document. Let's look into archival footage. Let's look into what kind of interviews are out there, what kind of observational footage is out there on that topic. And then also, I know it's not really popular and it doesn't seem, fun, but we have to think about ethics. We really do. We really have to think about ethics when it comes to filmmaking, because, there's a thin line. So then the next part of pre-production would be budgeting and planning. So I know I said, think about the money, and I absolutely still feel that way. Think about the money before you even pick up the camera, before you think about audio, before you think about lighting, location scouting, any of that. Let's think about budgeting. And I know it's hard because as creatives, we're not really thinking about the business. And that ends today. No. But we need to think about that stuff. So in this stage of pre-production, we should start planning or brainstorming for sponsors. Who can we reach out to and see if they'd be willing to donate or to offer some funds towards our film, that have to do with it. So let's say you're doing a film on guitars, right? Just because one's in the corner. I think it'd be smarter to reach out to Sam Ash. Wow, that's a throwback. Versus reaching out to Samsung. Unless, I don't know if Samsung has electronic guitar or something like that. But, you want to look for sponsors or think about sponsors that make sense. And then the other part, too, of thinking about the funds before we even start filming is just being open to applying to grants. I know they take a lot of work, a lot of writing, but it's worth it sometimes to get that extra funding. Filmmaking is not cheap. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more people doing it for a lot longer, or at least independent filmmaking. So start thinking about allocating money for film festivals. Those film festival fees add up, $20 here, $50 there, 100 something here. And, maybe keeping track of the deadlines. So that way you can use that when you're scheduling in the next part of pre-production. Ooh, I love when you get a nice little segue. With, doing interviews and scheduling shoots and stuff like that, you definitely want to create a schedule that has buffer time. Because sometimes you just never know. You might get stuck in traffic. You might need to charge some devices again, depending on like how much gear you have. You might have like some kind of setback, and you got to plan for the setback. And this is all part of the pre-production stage. I'm telling you, when you have a solid foundation, it's going to be hard to shake you. And that's in life. So in that time, you're setting up meetings to speak with the people that you're going to either work with, the people that you're going to shoot, just to kind of get everybody on the same page, get a range of like who's available on what days, what kind of gear is there, what are we going to use. Like, this is when you do all of that pre-planning. I can't stress it enough. It just makes things easier. When I was doing weddings, I would go look at the place. First thing I'm looking at is, one, how far is it for me, right? Because I was taking an Uber. Two, the lighting. How much natural light do we have? What do I need to bring? What's the setup? How is the ceremony going to look? Where is everybody coming out for, the wedding party? Who's doing what for the first dance? Things like that. So I'm just kind of pre-planning what's happening. That way, when I get there on the day, it's go time, Last thing, I cannot stress this enough with a pre-production stage, release forms. Get release forms. There are so many online that you can maybe do like a template. You could even have it on your phone, and that way you can have like electronic signatures or something, or you can go old school, print out a sheet that basically tells them that, they're relinquishing rights to your whatever you're filming, because it's so easy to forget that part. And then let's say your film gets picked up by PBS, and PBS is going to be like, hey, so do you have release forms or personal release forms for these people that were in your film? And you say no, you're going to have to either go back and get it, and that's going to be a lot of work, or they're just not going to move forward with your film. So release forms. I know it takes the fun out of it. It makes it so like, we're speaking legalese, but get that release form.